So as we go ahead, we'll keep discussing with her. So before we start, let me ask Lekha, how do you feel about your association with this youth empowerment? How strong do you feel about this idea of empowering the youth and sharing your ideas? What drives you with this engagement of youth empowerment?
Thank you, and good evening to everyone who is on the webcast. And thank you, Colonel Riaz, for having me over. I think this is a wonderful topic that you've chosen, and I'm really happy to be able to share my knowledge and my experience with people on this. As far as I'm concerned, I've always believed that the youth is not only the future of tomorrow. I know that sounds very much like a cliche, but when I look at the Generation Y and the Generation Z, I keep feeling that these people have so much of passion. They're impatient. They're extremely ambitious and very knowledgeable, much more than I think I was at their age. And yet, I think perhaps because of the amount of knowledge that they have at their fingertips, they are very confused. And also because of that confusion, they again get stressed. Plus, I think life is not kind today, right? I mean, you find parents who are what we call helicopter parents or tiger moms around them all the while, who are continuously putting the stress on these children. And therefore, the stress only is enhanced. Having been in my career for over 40 years in the corporate chair, I believe that human resource or human capital as we know it needs a lot of grooming. And I think these youngsters, I would love to see these youngsters when they enter industry to actually come in completely groomed. Because as you know, employability is nothing but a combination of capability and capability. Now, capability is something that parents and teachers and schools are continuously doing. I think it's up to us as trainers, as coaches, as mentors, and also the parents who should help them in the second half, which is that of capability. Life is tough, like I told you, and they have to be able to keep getting adept at change and adapt to it. And I think we need to be able to prepare them for that. We need to live in their tomorrow, not in our yesterday, basically.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what you're saying is this experience which we, the professionals and the trainers and the parents, like we are playing different roles, have been through. We need to be able to share our experience, and especially with your corporate experience, having been through so many organizations, you can give a glimpse of the variety of topics, variety of careers available today. Like earlier, they used to say that
Yes,
there's only choice of
absolutely. In fact,
either
is
you
this
would go
clear?
into engineer. Yeah, so either you would go into engineering or a doctor or a government service. Today you have a plethora of choices, like walking into a supermarket and you see huge shelves of stuff out there and you get confused as to which one to pick. But we need to be able to help them, and as parents, and today's discussion is going to point in that direction, give a few ideas, give a few pointers and suggestions on what can the students do and also the parents do to create this awareness, be more sure of which direction they're heading, and also try out different careers and not get fixated with just the limited ones, which we in our maybe the younger days or the youth days had. Is that what we are going to drive at today?
Yes, I think so. I think what I'm trying to look at here is to be able to look at the non-academic competencies that are going to help students to be able to make up their minds. Because, like you gave the example of a supermarket, there are so many products on the shelves, true, but we don't go in there and tear our hair out and say that, okay, what am I going to choose, right? Because we've already made some kind of an assessment of our need, our strength, and then we try and look for a match of what's available. I believe that if we can help students to lay that chart out, the map out of all the careers available, and we help them to be able to look at their strengths and their passion, where does their interest lie? I believe we would be able to help them to make a better and more informed choice. And that's the game of life. And also, like you
Fantastic.
stated, I think it's really important to recognize the fact that today, it's not like my days and not even your days, though you're a generation younger to me. But it's not like my days where if you made a choice for a career and you went on that path and it didn't work out, well, you were stuck for life, right? I mean, it was very difficult to be able to change. But look at the way life is today. There are people who are constantly changing their routes. And even if they get into engineering, they don't like it, then suddenly they are able to move into something else. Many people who moved into teaching of engineering or been into technical writing after doing engineering because they just
Very
felt
true.
that engineering wasn't their cup of tea. And that's fine. I think, and the new education policy that we have is also geared towards that, that people can actually change mid-career,
Very
mid-course.
true. Very true. Very interesting. So what it means is from the yesteryears to today's time, there is a much more choice available, and choice is also in terms of that once you join a company or a career at 20, you don't have to stick to it till you're 60. You could be changing, and that change. But the real issue is understanding what you need to do as a student, what a parent can do, and also recognize your own strengths, weaknesses, passions, and then try and fit in the available careers with your choice, with your passion, so that you feel fully satisfied and happy with what you're doing, and you are able to give your best in whichever career you are.
Absolutely. It's like, for instance, I would say, don't just follow the rat race because everybody is telling you about engineering or everyone is telling you about medicine. It's not the only thing in the game, and it is a very competitive field. So that's okay. Everyone doesn't need to get there. There are plenty of other areas where people have succeeded and they've been able to make a mark for themselves. In fact, much easier and much better and much, more money as well and more reputation when they're able to crack it. So I think it's important not to just follow that rat race or join the rat race, but I think follow the passion, follow what your
Follow
heart
the
really
passion.
tells you. I mean, it's like saying, imagine if you were able to, get and do a job on a daily basis, something that you really love, and you're getting paid for doing that hobby on a daily basis. I mean, there can't be anything more interesting than that. I mean, I love to see people who enjoy coming into work, on a Monday morning when they're excited about the week ahead, rather than those people who are excited on the Friday for the weekend. I mean, I'm not
Wow,
saying don't enjoy the weekend, but
yeah.
I mean, it's nice to be able to work at something that you love doing. Like I love when I teach, for instance, I am all aglow from the morning that I'm actually going into the class. I'm all excited about it. I'm like, it's like a light suddenly switches on inside me. It's just so exciting to interact with youngsters. So I would love for people to find that passion, to be able to. I see many parents today, who are not really enjoying the kind of work that they're doing, but still are in that rat race. They are in that drudge, and it doesn't help the child any longer when the parent says join engineering, see how happy I am, and they're not really looking happy at the end of it. Why should the child really join that?
True, true. So this aspect about passion, enjoying, and loving the fact that you go to a job on a Monday and enjoying that job is more important rather than somehow sweating it out from Monday to Friday and waiting for the weekend. And maybe it's okay for a week, but if you have to spend a lifetime doing that, definitely not for something. Let's have we have few people who have joined in after we started. Hi Malini, good evening. Good evening, Arya, Devanshu Gupta. Good evening. Anybody else who's joined in, please say hi so that I'm saying hi to everybody, and Lekha, say hi to all our viewers out
Yes.
there.
Hello, everybody. Lovely to have a big group. It's always nice to be able to talk. At my age, we wait for chances to talk. So it's really nice to be able to be here.
Fantastic. We have somebody from Suresh Balachandran joining from Connecticut, USA, as a parent of a child with special needs. Thank you for being here, Mamta. Thank you for being here. Let's move on to our next question. How exactly, typically people just think about going into science stream or commerce or arts, and that's it. Nobody really plans for the career. Some for students who are in the 9, 10, 11, 12, and their parents, what would you say as to how to think about the career, how to plan their career?
Okay. So I think the first thing that we need to do, and I think we should really start from the time that, we as parents start asking our child when they are in class 4 or 5, kya banoge bade bankar? Right? We start talking to them about, okay, what are they going to do, their occupations much earlier. And I think that's the time that we should actually help our child to know more about careers. So the child needs to start experiencing, like what I call career cruising, right? They've got to be able to keep looking at different kinds of aspects. What interests them? How do they find their passion? And today, in fact, there are so many sites. Like if you go to balancecareers.com, or you just do a interest inventory, of your own. And I think if you can find out what excites you, like is it flexibility, is it leisure activities, is it having a regular 9 to 5 job, what is it that actually makes you feel really excited, right? And I think there are plenty of these. There are lots of online tests through to Colonel Riaz. For instance, there is the strong interest inventory, which is free online. And of course, if you take the regular one, it may require a trained career counselor to be able to help you. But you can go to that. You can go to Kuda's occupational interest survey. Then there is the O Star Net interest profiler. Then there is, of course, the Strengths 2.0, which is the Gallup Strengths Finder. Then you can do your MBTI. There's Holland Code. There are so many of these tests online, which allow people to be able to understand the interests of a child and the very simple questions. So based on the age of the child, the questions change. So it's about, okay, do you like being with your friends? Do you like reading? Do you like being at a desk? Just trying to understand the habits and the likes and dislikes of a person. Once that is so, you kind of understand what are the kind of careers that are most suited for them, right? So it's extremely important for us to be able to understand what one needs to, where are your interests. But what I'm
Right.
saying is, don't do just one test. You should do a number of tests and then try
Right.
and see what the pattern is to be able to look at that interest.
So,
So
Lekha, we
start
have
from there.
two questions. I'm just going to flash them here.
Hmm.
One is from Suresh. He says, our son studies in Chennai in the NIOS curriculum of 12th grade. Do you intend address such students, or something we need to talk offline? So basically, he's wanting to know about
Special
how do
needs.
you decide
Yes.
on these passions, career, strength. You have listed a number of sites. I think what we can do is, once we finish off with this talk today, in this forum itself, in the comments, we'll paste a link or the names of these sites which you have mentioned, so that anybody who is watching our show right now, they can all go onto these sites and check out their aptitudes and their strengths or their passions. So that way the parents and the students will have a good idea of what exactly they should be doing. Will that help?
Correct. I think it may, but I think what Suresh Palachandran is asking is about the NIOS curriculum, which is really the open schooling curriculum in 12th grade, right? So it's also for special needs. So I think what he's trying to ask is, are we going to be addressing occupations for such students? I would love to be able to talk to you offline, Suresh, and I will leave my number, and Colonel Riaz will also leave his number. We'd love to be able to talk to you about that as well. But yes, there are plenty of such careers which are possible for people without having to go in through a professional education of graduation as well, where they would be able to stand on their own feet. But depending on their abilities and their capabilities, we'll need to be able to work with that. Definitely, I'd love to be able to talk to you more about that.
Fantastic. Mr. Suresh, our number is also flashing on the screen. Please note it down. You can get in touch with us and we can definitely solve your queries. Anybody else who's joining in, please say hi and tell us where you're joining in from, so that we know that you're there. And we also have a question from Arun. So let me flash it here. And that is a question which is, I think, on top of the minds of not just students, but a number of professionals. How do we discover our passion, strength, and these are the things which can ultimately guide us towards what kind of career we should be doing. And I'm sure it's applicable not just for students, even for adults. How do we discover our
Absolutely.
passion?
So I think the idea is to continuously keep finding what interests you, like like what I've done is to be able to create a bucket list about, maybe I think I did it about 10 years ago, and I've been consistently adding to it, not only completing what I have, right? And when I look at that, I understand where is it that, what is it that I really love to do. And if I can try and understand if the job that I'm doing or the kind of activities that I'm into is actually helping me to be able to assuage that inner fire in me, then I think I've found my passion. And I think it's the same thing here for students. And my advice to parents is, please continue to be in activities with your child, like especially in these COVID days. There's so much that is available online. In fact, there are museums that are available online. There's astronomy which is available. Teach them or look at what a vet does, for instance, veterinary science. Help them to understand about conservation of nature, help them to understand about history, help them to understand about conservation of artifacts and buildings, and just try and see where is it that your child is asking more questions. And however young they are, that's fine. You don't need to know. In fact, it's nice if you don't know. When you both are learning together, then the child doesn't feel that you're actually thrusting your line of interest on them. So just keep expanding yourself. I mean, today you can go into theater, you can look at drama, you can look at how does NASA work, for instance, what is biotechnology, what is it that there's this very nice website which is about innovation in schools, and about how children who are in the ages of 6 to 9 actually think about different kinds of innovation that is going to help the social community. And I think joining aspects, examining aspects like that. And I saw a little child in one of the cases which I had to go and judge. It was amazing. There was this child who was in class 6, okay, class 6, imagine. And he says that he has a friend who's blind, and he wanted to be able to help that child not be dependent on him. And so what he created was a kind of a sensor on the edge of an umbrella to be able to work with, so the child could just hold that umbrella and continue to know if there's a barrier that's coming up. And I think, if you can understand that your child has an interest in those kind of innovations, what we think is jugaad, but actually is a brainchild for a future business, maybe, and I think
Okay, okay.
we should encourage that.
Right. So I just want to highlight a few points which you have just talked about. One is the parents and the students need to get into this journey together and learn and explore more rather than just one-way traffic, like parents saying do this or the child saying no, I am going to do this. I think it's a
Yes.
journey of learning both for the parents and the students, and together they learn, explore, and since the classes time is quite less these days, the student and the parents have got a chance to explore rather than exploring Facebook and WhatsApp messages all day long. We can go and try out and see different things, like many of them which you have mentioned. So let me just flash a question here from one of our viewers. He says, I'm Christopher, I'm doing it at 12th. Now I'm planning to do journalism in college. I've done research for it regarding its pros and cons, and I would like to know if it is worth to do a job in the US or anywhere else.
I think you are seeing the news channels these days, Christopher. I think it's fabulous to be able to do journalism. People call it investigative journalism, but I think being a news anchor is something that's very, very good. People write articles to be able to do research on it. And if you think that is where you like to be able to do, to explore your career in future, of course. Why in the US? Today it's a growing field in India. And according to me, at least, I think India is the new US. So, why do you need to go to the US any longer? In fact, I just read today that a lot of US people are giving up their visas and coming back to India voluntarily. So, I mean, it's up to you, of course. But yes, journalism is opening doors all across the world. But I would advise that, actually try and examine what is the life of, see, one thing is to be able to write an article once in a while and be interested about it. But does it really encompass your entire life? Is it something that you'd like to do day after day? So I think getting hold of some journalist and, use your parents' network or your own network, try and connect with journalists online. Find out what do they do, what is the training that they've had, what is their average day like, how many hours do they need to work at an article, how many times does an article get torn off before it's actually ready for publishing. I think try and understand, are you able to take that kind of failure on a regular basis, and what is it in you which is going to help you to be able to cope. So examine that and then see if it's something that you'd like to make a lifelong career. One other thing you can do is actually become a blogger for now. So put up your articles on the blogs, become a YouTuber, speak about some research that you've done, see how many hits you have, how many people have found interest in it, and then you'll know whether you really have the flair for it or not. So today the world is open to you, absolutely open. And I love the idea of journalism. I think journalism and mass communication is really the area for tomorrow. Absolutely.
Very
Please go
true,
ahead.
very true. So, and the interesting part is it's no more limited to a television studio anymore. You can just sit at home, have a laptop, or even just a mobile, and be a journalist. That's a kind of opportunity which is available. I just want to highlight one point which you've just mentioned, that when you are deciding on your career, don't just go by whims and fancies like doing something once a week and think that you can make it a career. Yes, that is a start point, but beyond that, I remember my niece was trying to be a journalist, which she is now with one of the good companies. And so when she was in 12th class, she said that I want to be a journalist. So I knew somebody in one of the TV studios. I spoke to that lady. So me, my sister, and this girl, my niece, we went to that studio. We spoke to that the lady who was in that particular studio. We went around that studio, spent around 2 3 hours trying to understand what people do, how they do it. It gave a good idea to the child, to my niece, about what exactly goes on behind the behind the screen, so to say. So the idea that if we have so many people in our circles, our uncles, aunties, cousins, or maybe people whom we know, so if you find somebody of that stream or career, it's better to talk to him and understand what that job entails. Because
Absolutely.
I also remember that somebody goes into hotel management. Now, the person who goes into a five-star gets a royal treatment, but the person who's behind the scenes have to work for 24/7. So it's a completely different view when you are working in a five-star and when you are receiving the five-star facilities. So the aim is to understand what you're trying to get into thoroughly rather than just going by a particular feeling.
Absolutely. I think perception matters when you're in it. You see, what happens is when you're on the outside, you're only looking at all the fluff and fancy. But when you're in it, it's like a whole. And that's where you need to understand, like the example that you gave about hotels, Colonel Riaz, and I think that's a wonderful example. We look at it as so much of plush and luxury. But do we know that the people who are working there only get dal and rice? They don't get the kind of good food that we have all the time, right? I
Very
mean,
true.
and they're
Very true.
working very long hours, probably
True.
struggling till midnight and then going back. So I think yes.
Very true.
so
Yes.
so I think what we need to do is to be able to examine careers from the purpose of, can I do it day in and day out, rather than just looking at it as
Very
something
true.
which was
Very
really
true.
nice. Yeah.
Right. So, good evening to all the viewers who are out there on Facebook Live. Welcome, and please flash your name so that we get to know that you're there. And we are in a discussion with Lekha Sishta, who's global talent strategist. We are discussing the diverse careers, how to choose a career, what all things you must see in it. This is not a career counseling session as such, but we are helping you discover your strengths, your passions, and how to connect to a career and pursue that. And we have a question from Malini. Let me flash it here. It says, "Hi Lekha, my daughter is in ninth grade. When I ask her what she wants to do, she has no clarity. She has absolutely no idea. How do I probe more and get to know her passions?" That's another interesting question. I'm sure a lot of parents would like to know this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that we've kind of spoken about a little while earlier, Malini, but it's a very real problem. And it's not that she has no idea. She's probably confused because there's so much that she knows, and so many things that are interesting her. I think what you'd like to do is to be able to sit her down and talk to her about various things, or just show her a color code, like you have a color test. So similarly, do one of these interest inventories, see what she really loves doing. Is she good with her hands? Is she good with numbers? Is she good with paints? Just try and find out her interest and her passions, and slowly start coaxing her to be able to exploit those strengths that she has and the passions that she has in a career of her choice. So I think it needs to be done slowly. Don't rush her into it. Ninth is still early. In fact, these days, a lot of people are also taking break years after class 10 and after class 12 to be able to try and understand. Where people would like to go. I believe that you can give her time. It's not a rush, but yes, it's nice to start her on the path. So start talking about archaeology, start talking about architecture, start talking about interior decoration, talk to her about engineering, talk to her about chemical technology, talk to her about being a food chemist, for instance, or a tea taster, for instance. I mean, such interesting opportunities there today. I mean, optometry, for instance, people were telling me now recently that it's not necessary for people who are doing, who are eye specialists, for instance. to do surgery at all, but they do everything else, and it's very good money in that as well. Or to become just a chemist, you can look at ethical hacking. I mean, if people love to just do gaming, do they like to also hack? You know how much of money there is today, even from the security angle out there. Not only companies, but even the government are looking for ethical hackers, right? So mountaineering, it could be purchasing agents for companies like, Fab India. They go in there and actually start buying products from different places. Rural technology, crops and agriculture. There are so many areas today that people can go into, but you need to educate yourself and also then help her to be able to find what she'd like to do. So a career counselor will be really helpful for you, and we have quite a few, in our group. We can always guide you towards a career counselor as well if you don't have anybody. But just try out these tests that are there online and help to understand first where are her interests and her passions, and then we'd be able to help you. And there are plenty of careers. I mean, just to reel off a few, if I may, Col Riyaz, there's habitat policy. I've just written down a few. For instance, museology, graphic designers, another very big field, real estate, photonics. Do you know that, just looking at cameras and light is not just photography, but actually being able to understand how light can work in different areas? Conservation of biology, for instance. You have public health, stock markets, tourism. Today, with health, the kind of thing, health management, healthcare management is a huge field. And believe me, after this pandemic, according to me, the next big area in India is going to be healthcare management. So maybe that's an area that, which is
Definitely.
tomorrow for your child right now. So there's plenty of it: wildlife
Definitely.
conservation, nature conservation, being a professional blogger, getting into the merchant navy, getting into the armed forces like Colonel Riaz has done, and today it's open for girls as well. So that is there.
Yep.
Getting into cruise lines, for instance, I mean, imagine just sailing the world on a ship. I mean, it's so beautiful. The world today has so many opportunities. Naturally, your child will be confused. And so would you be if you had these kind of options in front of you.
Right, right. So you've given a long list of careers. I'm sure there are many more like that. We
Oh,
have a
plenty.
question.
Yes.
Firstly, let me flash this interesting comment from our viewer. She says, "Follow your passion, and the provision will follow you." So that's the key thing, that you should enjoy what you're doing. And also, we have a question. Hi, Sangeeta. Thank you for connecting. We have Sangeeta Motupalli here. And we have a question from Shreyas. He says, I'm currently in intermediate second year MEC. I have a great interest in making money. Can you help me out? Okay. So what would you?
Shreyas, who doesn't have interest in making money? But I hope you are interested in making money the right way. Okay. And
Yes,
you're
I'm
doing
sure.
MEC. You're doing MEC. There's plenty that you can actually do with your career. One of the best ways to be able to look at it is being an investment counselor. For instance, you help other people to make money, and you help to make yourself enough money too. There's plenty of capital gains which you can look at. You can become an interest, because you're in the right combination of subjects. You're looking at maths and commerce. I think it's and economics as well. So I think doing anything in the finance stream will definitely help you. But that, just because you're doing MEC, please let me once again remind the entire audience, it does not mean that you have to stick to finance. There are plenty of people who've done other things after having chosen a different major in college, and you're only in your intermediate second year. So it doesn't matter. You can still go right ahead. There's so much. Do you know that you can even do pet grooming? I mean, the fact that you're doing MEC, you can set up your own enterprise. You can maybe join or start your own startup. Do you know that there are pet clinics which are online right now, with the kind of love that people have for pets? And we can't go every time there, but there's pet grooming and pet clinics which are there in a van. So there's so much that one can do, as long as you're interested in it. So don't just be interested in making money. That should not be your goal. Your goal should be in making money the right way, following the passion. We don't want you to make money and then land up in jail, right? So we'd
Right,
like you to
right.
do it the right
So,
way.
so the key point here is that you need to enjoy what you're doing. So, that, like you said in the beginning, that your work also should be like a hobby which you enjoy doing, and the side effect of that is the money. because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, the money may not be really helping you in the long term. Well, we have a few more editions here. We have SRK Raju. Thank you for joining us here. We have Arun, and let me flash a question which has come from Arun. It says, my son is passionate about driving but wasn't able to make a career in that space. Any advice for him? Is of course working in an MNC, but his heart isn't in it.
I would like to tell you a little story here. I mean, I'm sure it's not for your son, but I'm just giving you a story. When I went to Cochin the other time, I met this taxi driver, a cab driver, who actually had been working in a company as an accountant. He's an accountant, a qualified ICWA, right? And he just found that he just didn't want to sit behind a desk, and he started driving a cab. Then he says, I'm making a lot more money in cabs now, because there's so few cabs that are actually willing to do long distance, from Cochin, taking people into the hinterland of Kerala, for instance. And he says, I just have in my car, I have my entire suitcase, my clothes, my food, what I want. I stop anywhere, usually in some kind of a hotel, for the night, for instance. I'm just parked in their yard, in their parking space. And I get up in the morning, go have a wash, etc., and I'm off again on the road. He says, I just love it. I'm doing so well. And I know that if I have to, once I have a family, I will need to go back. So my advice to your son is not to get into cabs, yeah. But I think, to be able to find something that he'd like to do. Maybe he'd like to go on a couple of road trips, for instance, over the weekend, join people, take people along with him to be able to see the world in his car. And of course, be very careful about it. Make sure that his car is completely serviced and so on. But I think it's very essential for him to be able to follow his passion while not giving up a good paying job, till that
Right,
whatever he's doing
right.
is actually going to give him enough to subsist,
That's very
right?
interesting
he could
point.
he could even get into car racing, for instance, if he likes that. Or he can do these long trips that people have to, to Leh and Ladakh in the car. Take a car and test drive one of these cars into the hard surfaces. So I think, yeah, there are plenty of opportunities. I think he should follow his heart, but let him do
Right,
it first during his spare time. Let him not
right,
give up
right.
the good job.
So that's very interesting point. Every time, the situation in life may not be that the perfect situation that everything is falling into place. So like they say that you can have a via media, the middle path. So you have a job which gives you the salary, and with that salary you do things which you like to do. So you can create that balance. Why not? I mean, there's nothing like a perfect life. We create a better life out of the imperfections which we go through. I think that is how we can manage it and still be happy at the end of the day. Why not? Why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're
So,
you're completely correct about it.
right. We have a few questions. Let me post it here and then we'll discuss it. This says Arya. He's our hi Arya. He's a very very regular and dedicated listener of our programs, and I'm going to have him on the program someday very soon. So, how can I prepare myself for a government exams? So, I want to just broaden this question in the sense that how do you prepare for a career? Because the government exam, there are many government exams. It can be NDA, it can be IAS or the civil services, or it can be different
Banking. It can be
banking.
banking.
It
Yeah.
can be banking. So, in a way, how do you prepare, maybe mentally or academically? In general, can you just answer this question?
So I think first of all, if I'm advising somebody, I haven't met Arya, so I don't know him very well. But my first
He's
thing
in
will be
12th class.
why do you want to join government service, right? I mean, there are a number of reasons for it. So it could be that you want to join for power, in which case there's a different style of exam that you need to prepare for. I want to join for security, there's a different kind of job that you need to prepare for. There's something that I want more flexibility and more time off. I want to join banking, or I want to join, a government college or a school. So you have to be able to understand what are your needs for which kind of a government job. Government jobs can go from anywhere, right from the metros to, to the railways to sports quotas. I mean, there's so many there. So one needs to understand what is your provocation, what is your incentive to join that, and then you can prepare. But no examination is easy, right? And please do not let go. If there is a dream that you have, and the dream for a job, for a particular career, right? Something which is going to, you're just so excited about, you've always dreamt of that. And then I believe that you would love to try and try again, right? So don't give up on it. Try very hard, keep on preparing, keep on taking more and more, coaching for that, or else keep testing yourself on papers. And there's so many of these papers which are available online. Keep testing yourself, keep regulating. I think you need to spend at least 3 to 4 hours a day for at least a couple of months before you can crack these exams. So I think it's
Yeah.
important.
So
Oh
his
yeah.
answer
So
is
so
UPSC.
this is,
Like you
I
said,
mean, this is
UPSC.
fabulous. This is a boy after my heart. I mean, I'd love to be able to, to be able to coach you if you want to get into the UPSC. It's something that I think you need to be able to, and especially because you want to serve the nation, I would love to be able to see you crack those the UPSC exams. So
Definitely.
definitely you have to prepare, and you got a lot of chances. Yeah, it's not something that you just give once or twice.
Right.
I
Right.
know somebody. I know somebody who has actually made it. I think we all heard of him. The army colonel who had joined the army. What is his name? Col Riyaz, the gentleman who recently passed away in Kashmir. Um, the
Santosh
one
Babu,
from
Colonel
Andhra,
Santosh
Santosh
Babu.
Babu. Yes, he joined on his 13th try, the last try for joining the army. So imagine how many times he actually went after it, right, to be able to get in. So I think you do not expect to get it on the first try. It's wonderful if you can, but I think keep trying to better yourself and keep trying for a better score if that is really what you want. But in the
Definitely.
meantime, don't give up on earning something, right? Earn
Right.
something
Right.
alongside.
Okay, we have a question here. It's a kind of a comment, and I want to highlight on this, discuss a bit on this also. Talk about hearing each other. So each other, I mean, between the student and the parents, and the magic of motivation to the child, which leads to miracles. This is an interesting point. Can you throw some light on this? What I want to discuss is that many times there is a confrontation. The parent says that no, you will do engineering and you will go into this school, this college, because I was also engineer, or I am a doctor and you should also be a doctor. This kind of thing happens in families, and there's a lot
It
of
is.
said and unsaid pressure. So many times it could be like, no, I am. The father says, okay, you want to join whichever career you want. I have no problem, but it will be difficult. We have a tradition of everybody in the being in the engineering department or engineering line. Your grandfather was also in the same line. I am also in the same line. I'll be proud to say my son has, been through NIT or IIT, something like that.
Emotional blackmail, right?
What do you say
Okay,
about that?
I want to give an example here, Kal Riyaz, because this happened to me. So I have two
Oh,
daughters, right? And after I had completed my IIM, obviously I had the dream, because I was one of those very few women who had, in my time, who had actually come out from the IIM. I'm talking of 40 years ago. So it was so interesting that when my children were in, I think in intermediate and high school, both of them, I took them back to the IIM, and I said, I thought I will inspire them to want to join the IIM and, become like me and become better than me and so on. And so I took them. We even stayed 3 days at the hostel. Okay. I mean, I actually asked for permission. We stayed in the hostel for 3 days. They interacted with the other students. And I was so kicked myself at taking them back to IIM Bangalore. But when I came out, I found that they just didn't want to get into the IIM. They found that it was so not at all what they had expected. And of course, both of them went on to do their management in different fields, and of course, from places outside of India, not in India. But, what I dream for them may not be their dream. And I think we
right.
as parents need to give that up. And I think this thing that Ravi has given in his comment is so true. I think the question is, or the key issue is in listening to each other. So, I had a question the other time where, like you said, the parent is asking the child that I want you to do engineering, and there's nothing else. I'm not going to fund you for anything else. You need to get into that. I remember somebody else, another friend of mine, telling their child that you've done psychology. I want you to do law now. And she just wasn't ready for law. She said, no, I've done psychology. I want to go into something, into counseling. I don't want to go into law. And he said, no, you have to get into law, because that is what was my dream. I couldn't get into it, so you need to get into it. But it's my honest belief that when a child is faced with with this kind of if I may dare to call it emotional blackmail, or even if I call it, a kind of thrust from the parent, I believe that the child needs to know why is it that they want to really, not agree. So I think they need to say that, all right, I'm not interested in engineering. Why am I not interested in engineering is a very important question to answer. You can't just say, I don't want to go into it because you're telling me to go into it, right? I mean, that's not going to hold any water. But at the same time, the child also needs to say, okay, if not engineering, then what? Because that's going to be the next question from the parent. So before you get into that kind of a discussion with your parent, please have your reasons for not going that line, as well as also what is the alternative? What are you interested in? And why are you interested in that? What is the kind of research that you've done? So I think getting into a kind of healthy debate, and that is what I think, Ravi, when you said that listening to each other, the magic of motivation at both sides, right, is in this miracle of actually hearing the other person's perspective. So I think it's important.
Absolutely.
It's important
Absolutely.
for us to be able to, crack it by discussing in a very open and healthy way, and not taking any action to say, okay, no, I'm going to do this on my own, even if you don't help me. It doesn't need to be that way. But you need to be able to discuss it very healthily with your parent and be able to make sure that they understand why you want to do that. you know
Right.
uh, I'd like to tell you an example from my own life. I was a good student. I had, in those days, we used to have things like double promotions, right? So I had two double promotions as a child. I was very young for my class 9. I think I was, um, when I passed school, I was about 15. So, I was very young at that time. Um, and when I was in class 9, which was our core exams, those days we had something known as core exams where you needed to choose between arts and science. My father felt that I should do science, right? I mean, whether engineering, but he actually wanted me to be a doctor. So I thought, okay, let me try it out. And then the first day that I went into the lab, and I had to dissect a frog, and the frog jumped. Okay, the frog jumped while it was with those pins on that
In,
cardboard. It
yeah,
actually went that way. I not only jumped, I screamed, and I walked out of the school. I ran home from the school, and I ran out of science, right? There was no way my father could get me back into science. But what I'm
very
saying is,
true.
these dreams of parents may not often be what are our dreams. And sometimes we go into it and we may be grateful for it, but not always. So I
So
think
let
we need to be able
let
to know
the
why.
kids dream. Let the kids dream their own dreams,
Yes.
and let the parents be their guides, helping them to achieve their dreams rather than just thrusting their dreams on the kids, which
Yes.
can lead to a lot of stressful situations. I've come across a lot of stressful situations, and I won't hesitate to say even suicides, where a lot of parents have put extreme pressure on the children to achieve certain results, achieve certain marks, get into certain careers where the child was not interested or didn't have an aptitude for science or math. They push them into it, and the child fails in 11th or in 12th, and then ultimately the children take that extreme step. So the parents have to be very, very careful on this aspect of trying to thrust their dreams, engage, talk, discuss, guide, motivate. I mean, all those are fine, but beyond a certain point, very important not to make it an ego problem that my neighbor's son has gone into engineering college and my son or my daughter has not gone into it. Can be very, very dangerous at
Yeah.
a certain point.
Yeah. I think this comparison is so bad, when why are you talking about my neighbor's son? Your older brother has done this, why can't you?
Yes,
Even
true.
comparison
Between the
between
siblings also.
siblings is,
Between
I
the
think,
siblings also.
very damaging, very, very damaging. So my advice to parents is, please don't do that. First of all, I've got 2 or 3 points. One is, stop being a helicopter parent. Don't hover around your child all the while, and don't think that you can dictate their lives. I don't think parents should, look at children as a reflection of themselves or an extension of themselves. Remember, children are completely different individuals. So treat them, trust them as their own individuality. Trust that to come to the fore. I think you need to help the child to discover their strengths and their passions, like I told you before. I believe that you should brainstorm with them. to match their passions with the kind of career options which are available, and take the help of trained counselors if you want to, or your friends and relatives. Of course, sometimes friends and relatives also can be, very pushy. So just be a little careful about that. I think there are a number of ads which are coming on television also about exactly this. So just be a little careful
Right.
about not taking that completely. Find a
Right.
mentor or a role model for your child in that area that you believe that that child, I mean, look through your network and try and discover there's somebody
Very
who's,
interesting.
let us say, gone to NASA. Make your child meet them and make them understand what exactly was there at that time. Yeah, so do that. Expose your child to this variety of activities online which is available today. Just go there, be there with them. I think every parent today actually has at least about 3 or 4 hours free, because they're not traveling so often any longer, so I believe, to work and back. So I believe that that is the time that you need to spend with your child. While I don't agree with you, Colonel Riaz, right in the beginning you said that schoolwork is less. In my opinion, actually, schoolwork is more these days. Every teacher is trying to give a lot more homework and lot more classes. So while that is there, I think the parent has got a lot more time and should spend that in engaging positively with the child.
Right.
I think we have to also encourage the child to find their tribe. Like we say, that every person is the sum of the top 5 people that you're spending maximum time with, right? So, make the child find their tribe, find the 5 people who are energizing them, who are motivating them. Because if they can find that, then, there is no limit for their dreams. You don't even know where they're going to soar, because they're with the right kind of company. So make the
Right.
child, encourage them to get out of the comfort zone and find those 5 people with whom they're going to spend more of their time, so that it is going to challenge them to expand their horizons, right?
Okay, let
And
us take just a
so
minute,
these
just a
are,
minute.
I think, the most important things.
Just a
Yeah.
minute. Let us take a few comments from our viewers. And this is from Suresh. Appreciate
Again,
your
Suresh, it is so
emphasis
nice to
not
keep
to
seeing you
live
interacting.
through their
Yeah.
children and impose dreams on them. We have already have an open communication. That's a good point. And let me flash Sangeeta's point is mismatch of my daughter's career plans versus mine was exactly what I was at last month. I'm happy I listened to her and supported her to pursue her dreams. She left to UK last week to complete her masters and explore further. That's a lovely thing,
That is
Sangeeta. Glad to know that.
absolutely phenomenal, Sangeeta. Congratulations to you. And I think you will realize that in her happiness, you will find your happiness and your dream, right? You don't want to thrust your dream on her and find that she's unhappy in her life. So I think that's
Very
a
true.
fabulous thing that you've done. Congratulations. These are the kind of success stories we like to listen to.
And we have a comment from Evelyn John. Your talk is very motivating, ma'am. Give us a wide range of openings for our children's career choices. Thank you very much for this opportunity to hear your pep talk on diverse careers. So yeah, I think it's coming useful.
Thank you,
Let us
Evelyn.
take
It was so nice to hear that, we are able to help you. Yes, our objective was just to be able to open your mind to the various careers which are beyond doctors and engineers. So I'm very
absolutely.
happy that you find value in it. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
your comment.
So we do love doctors, especially in this COVID times. Also, we do love
Yeah.
our engineers for building our wonderful buildings and roads and bridges. But we just want to try and connect the people with the dreams and passions. So let me just add one more question here. And this is from Ravi. I see a lot of depression in students. How do they build to come back the attitude to win anytime? So actually, we are going to have a panel discussion next week, exactly on the same day, same time, on the same place. That is UnBox Studio, and we are going to talk about this stress among students and also deal with how to deal with depression. So I'll just request you, Ravi. It's a huge, big topic. We need to
And we
delve
can't
deep
we
into
can't
it.
answer it in 2 minutes.
And I will request you to come back here next week, and we're definitely going to cover this topic because it's very, very important to us. Because you know that Unbox, this initiative, youth empowerment initiative, is to help the students to build their confidence, to build their emotional strength and then emotional skills, also to reduce their depression and stress, and also to prevent suicides. We are covering all the topics are ultimately focused towards this. And today's topic of students going in for diverse careers is also a way to help the students to come out of stress which is put on them because of lack of awareness of the topics of the careers and lack of awareness of how to get to these careers. That's what we are trying to bridge that gap today. And let me put a comment by one of our viewers, Purvaja. Thank you for both for being for this wonderful discussion, and truly fortunate to have sharing their valuable knowledge and experience. Yeah, this is what we are here for, to share our knowledge and
Thank you.
experience. And those who have joined in late, please post any questions. We would love to answer your questions, whatever we can. Whatever we can't, we are flashing a number there. As far as the selection of careers are concerned, we have some career counselors with us who can help you out in discovering your strengths, passions, and careers. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please post on the Facebook Live right now. If you haven't shown your name on the Facebook Live, also please say hi, and hi to everybody who has not posted their names. Right. So what about something like plan B or C? Before we end, we also need to discuss this plan. We are fixated with one career, which is fine. We are working for a career. A student tries for it 2, 3 years, 4 years maybe. If they're not able to get, what is this fact thing about plan B and C? Can you just highlight this aspect?
So I think one of the things that we do in strategy, even when I am, advising any of the startups whom I mentor or any of the colleges where I'm on the academic board, I think we always speak about something that is not working out. So therefore, what is your plan B, right? I mean, there has to be an alternative. You can't put all your eggs in one basket and say, this is the only thing that I'm going to go to. And if I don't get this, then there's nothing else for me. So you should always say, okay, what is my next step? And you should always have, all right, if that doesn't work out, what else can I do? So I believe that every person has at least 2 or 3 different interests or different kinds of career options which could be appealing to them. So while you focus on your first plan and keep putting your all into it, like I was telling Arya, who was the person who was actually getting into the
Yes, it
UPSC
was Arya.
examination.
Arya.
Yeah.
Arya.
So I think, the thing is to be able to, while you're focusing on that, continue to also work on something else, because if that doesn't work out, at least you should have another standby goal, right? So don't just say that, okay, it is this or nothing. Today
Yeah.
the world is
Very
not
true.
like that. You've got to be able
Very
to
true.
keep testing it out. And like I said, the new education policy that we have, Col Riyaz, is exactly this. It is allowing you to change your majors. It's allowing you to take up guitar playing as a subject in your college. It is, even photography in college, along with whatever is your commerce or your economics, etc. You can take up a hobby which can then become a passion or a lifelong interest. You can become a drummer in, or become a cello player. Who knows, right? So it's important for us to be able to find another passion which may currently be a hobby, but which can give us some kind of a line to pursue in case the first one does not open up the way in which we'd like to. So always have a plan B. And to students, I would say, please start that plan B now. It, and do it in small ways. Like if you think you have a great innovative idea or an enterprise idea, test it out. Make something at home. You think you'd like to get into rural technology, try and see, okay, how would you make a carry irrigated water, bowel water across to the fields? Is there an easier channel that you can create? Think about things that you would like to do and test it out in a blog, test it out online, put your ideas up. And I think once you find that it appeals to you, you can even take that up, but test it out. Like the
Very
person who was
true.
into journalism, write the article right now. If you're into painting, examine it. Who knows, you might be the next MF Hussain.
Very true. So when we say plan B and C, it can be within the same field also. For example, just
Yes.
like we said, talked about journalism. Within journalism, there are several fields: video journalism, there is
Yeah, radio
broadcast
jockeys,
journalism, there are
radio
RJs,
jockeys,
radio jockeys are.
absolutely,
It's a
absolutely.
good stream to follow. Within that,
Yeah.
you could be just writing articles, or you could be doing video. So within that also, there can be, within the same stream, there can be plan B and C, or completely different career altogether. It can be. Very true. So my
I was
final
just
question.
talking, just one point here, Colonel
Yeah.
Riaz, is, like for engineering, when people, we always think of engineering as just being civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics, and software, right?
IT.
But today, when you look at it, you've got automotive, you've got aerospace, you've got nuclear engineering, you've got, aerophysics, you've got astrophysics, for instance, search engine optimization engineering, which there is. I mean, there's so much today in just engineering. Similarly, in medicine as well. It doesn't matter if you don't become a 5 years or 6 years plus doctor. You can get into, like we spoke about, optometry, or you can get into physiotherapy, you can get into chemist. So there's so many fields which are available to you today. Don't blanket yourselves off into feeling disappointed if you don't get into something at any one time. Thank you,
Very
Arya. I
true.
saw your comment.
Thank you, Arya. Right. Final question is about the startups and entrepreneurship. Can students think about going into this line, because there is a lot of talk about startups, unicorns, and there is a lot of support from the government on startups. Would you like to just throw some light on this aspect about startups?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, this organization called Metamorphosis, which actually works with schools in Hyderabad, and I think they've also got branches in two or three other places in India, and in Dubai and Singapore as well. They work with encouraging this innovation in students, and it's amazing the kind of ideas that they've come to. And the first top three winners every year are actually presented in front of angel investors. And the angel investors invest in their enterprises. And many of them have gone on to actually set up their businesses, right? They've actually become successful entrepreneurs. I want to give you an example of a friend of mine whose child was in class 9 in London and was all the time continuously on the computer. So he got fed up and he asked her, "What is it that you're continuously sitting on the computer and doing?" Till she came up with this amazing idea of being able to transfer the London map, the train map, onto the phone, and which is also allowing you to know when the next train is coming and how long it's going to take you to be able to get from the place that you're at to the station in time for you to to buy the ticket or to flash your pass and get onto the train. And it was a just in time that she was working on. You are not going to believe, Google picked up her product, which she was
Wow.
playing around with, okay? Playing around with, and paid her, I think, about £2.5 million for that idea.
Very
All my life,
interesting.
I haven't earned that kind of money.
Very interesting. So that
So,
brings me to another. There is a person called Salman Khan, and it's not the actor Salman Khan. It's somebody, I think, in UK or US, who used to convert a lot of physics and maths lessons into video lessons, and he just
online.
used to post those lessons free of cost, and he kept it on, and he was so good. He attracted a lot of students onto those classes, and ultimately I believe Microsoft has bought that, his whole idea, and he's working with Microsoft now. So the point here is, which you have been focusing and we have been discussing, is there are no linear paths today that junior engineer, senior engineer, vice president, president, that same path in one stream. If there are millions of paths, a person can choose that path. The whole challenge is to understand own strengths, passions, abilities, and try
And
to
your needs. And
and
your
your
needs.
needs
Like,
and
what is
your
it that you're
needs.
looking for? Is it
Yes,
recognition? Is it money?
yes,
Is it popularity? Is it social
yeah,
work?
absolutely,
Altruism?
absolutely,
Find
absolutely,
what is your need. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Are there any questions from our audience, which has been, wonderfully connected to us throughout? Yeah, Khan Academy. Yeah, Sumarao says that the name of that organization
It's
is
Khan
Khan
Academy.
Academy.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people know Salman Khan, the actor, but they don't know Salman Khan, the founder of the
The
Khan
teacher.
Academy, right?
See,
Uh,
that's the power of the media.
yes, yes, that's the power of the media. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, or any thoughts on whatever we have discussed, we have a little more time in our hands. If you feel free to post, we would love to hear about you. And apart from this, any other queries you have, please post on our Facebook page, that is Unbox YEIHYD, wherever you are right now. That's where you are seeing uh, this particular broadcast. If you have any suggestions for topics which you would like us to cover for the youth, please post on our page. We would love to cover this. We have a lot of pool of experts, like Lekha today was wonderfully explained so many concepts and cleared, given a line of thought for the parents as well as students. We would love to, keep interacting and keep this particular initiative going. And yeah, so anybody else? Any parting thoughts, Lekha, for our
Yes.
viewers?
So I'd like to tell parents one thing, and that is that please be the role model that your child can follow. And for that, it is about being a good listener. And if you enjoy your work and come home excited about your job, whatever you're doing, they're not going to be thinking work is actually a drudge, right? They've got to think about work as a pleasure, as a joy. So if you can inculcate that kind of the kind of being in them, I think that is one excellent thing. And the other one is finding a career in these days is a lot of experimentation, it's a lot of navigation, it's a lot of learning, a lot of failures along the way, a lot of changing of courses. So mid course correction is along the path. My advice to all of you parents is, I know that you are as ambitious, I know you want your child to succeed, all of us would like that for our children, but I think it's important to allow them the space to test themselves out, test the waters. And it doesn't matter if they don't hit their target or at the first goal. It's fine. The world today, in fact, I was talking about this to somebody else on another webinar, Col Riyaz, and this is that no longer is HR also going to be looking at qualifications any longer when you're getting into a job. We're all going to be looking at not whether you've done your engineering and with how many percentage you've passed, but do you know how to solve this problem? So it's a lot about application and skill rather than the pedigree or the college that you have come from or the kind of certification. So I think if we as parents can also learn to discriminate between just getting a qualification for the sake of a qualification and inculcating that application and hands-on working to be able to solve problems, I believe we will go a long way in helping our child to be able to be successful in their lives. Be patient.
Right,
That's all I'm saying.
right. Be
And
patient and
one more thing is, please protect your children. They're young. Protect your children, but don't suffocate them. But when they're going online to check out or asking people for advice, please remember there are too many pedophiles online. People who are child predators online who will be under the guise of helping out your child. Please be around to tell your child that you're there to be able to help them. You need to protect. That's
right,
just
right. So
one thing
let's
that comes from
take.
being a mother.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Yeah.
should be safe. Just a few points. We have comments from our viewers. Would you consider similar session for children with special needs? We can do that definitely. Thank you, Suresh. We would love to do that. We would definitely we'll try to do that. Thank you for your suggestion. And we have Deepa, who said that my daughter is in ninth. She's good at diverse things such as academics, music, dance. She wants to know how to choose one career. She loves doing all of them. Now, this is the this is the other side where
These are the multi-talented children, right? I
multi-talented
mean, they have
children.
many things. But there is nothing to stop her from following music and dance along with academics. Why does she need to think it's one or the other? She's only in class 9. It's possible for her to explore all the three. So let her continue. But do tell her, yes, it's important to have one line because, I also had learned dancing when I was, when I was very young. And it's not something that I could carry on when I became an adult, much sadly for myself. So I had to be able to look at something else. So I think while you look at music and dance, it's not essential that that has to be the only line, right? She can continue to look at other things and keep examining her passion. Let her do her arangetram. I'd love to be able to come and see her at it when she's doing it, based on what kind of dance she does. Yes.
Right. So she has time in any case, and people can follow multiple passions like we have discussed. And I just was seeing a live session on Facebook of one of my colleagues' daughter who is doctorate in Bharatnatyam, and she has done 2,500 shows across the world in last 10 years. So there you are. You can do
Absolutely.
both. Right. And just one more point, analytical thinking is more important than rote learning. That's very interesting observation. Would you like to just
Absolutely
highlight?
true, Karya. Absolutely true. But one thing I want to tell you that when you're sitting for the UPSC exams, there's a lot of rote learning also that you will need to do. Okay. But yes,
Fair
you're
enough.
totally right. Today, what we are looking at is completely this analytical thinking to be able to understand a problem, not only to understand and solve a problem. Actually, today, what we're looking at is a person who can see where a problem is. To others' mind, they may never have seen that there's a problem. But a person who can see that there is a problem beyond the surface is, I think, what we are looking at. Not only a person who's actually resolving a problem. Absolutely correct. We're not looking at rote learning any longer. especially with the kind of technological advances that we have, and the kind of search engines that we have, and the kind of calculators that we have. It is so easy for people to be able to know that what is 2 cubed into 2n or whatever. He doesn't need to sit and actually work at it, but where is he going to utilize this is more important, right?
Right. So one of our viewers, Mr. Swami, has suggested midnaglobal.com. I believe it's a
Yeah.
site which
Yes, it's a
can.
multiple intelligences site. Yes.
Okay, so you can test check out your multiple intelligences. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually to test about how good you are in, let's say, in numbers or logic or
Another way
language,
to
etc.
discover your strengths and
Yeah, but it's a lot
your
about
intelligence.
IQ rather than it is about the interest and passion, which is a lot about EI as well. So this is a little restrictive. It is really about understanding the kind of skills rather than just the competencies.
Right. So let's take a last comment from our viewers. He says, Mr. Suresh, best way to connect offline and take the discussion further on career guidance for children with special needs. Yeah.
Suresh, I
So
see your anxiety and I would love to be able to help you out. So please feel free to connect with Col Riyaz's number is there on screen. And then once he's able to, get what you want, I'm sure he'll be able to connect you to me. And we'll
yes,
definitely love to help you out, because that's one of
yes,
my passionate areas as well, to be able to help children with special needs stand on their feet. And, because they have their life ahead of them, we'd love to be able to help them to know that they have actually special needs, that they're not deprived of anything. I
very
was
true.
reading this very nice saying that the focus needs to be on not what you do not have, but on what you have. And I'd love
Very
to be
true.
able to help out with that.
Very true. Thank you for that, Lekha. So at the end, I would just like to say thanks a lot to all the viewers who are out there who have been patiently watching our show. And thank you, Lekha, for sharing such wonderful insights. And I'm sure everybody loved it. We enjoyed listening to you and also got a lot of useful inputs. I'm sure they'll be able to explore further and with so much of new ideas, definitely they can make better choices. That's what ultimately it's all about. And creating awareness and ultimately also reducing stress amongst the students and parents as well. When there is harmony in thought, there is lesser stress. So, any
Absolutely.
just parting line from you.
I think it'll be nice, Colonel Riaz, if you can also at the bottom, if you can give later on or on this website itself, if you can actually let them know the tests that they can do to be able to check their child's interests and passions. So we
Right.
will definitely put that
We'll
down.
post that on
And
the end of the comments and also on our Facebook page. Please view there all these things which you have discussed. The important ones will be definitely posting it again. And this
yeah,
video also will be available for viewing on this Facebook page itself, also on our YouTube channel, for which we'll be giving a link. And we have Suresh thanking appreciate it, and we have Gali Varaprasad, he's saying, nice, thank you, Varaprasad. He's my schoolmate and we started our journey together in 1977 at Sainik School,
wow,
Gorakunda. So thank you, Gali,
very nice.
for being here. Love your presence here. With that, we come to the end of the show. Thank you, Lekha. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, Suma, Gaurav, and Sabina, who have been managing the show from the
From the
sideline.
back end. Yes, absolutely.
And Rathina Swami, who gave these inputs about Midna Global, is the founder of that. Thank you, Rathina, and thank you everybody who posted your comments. In case I missed out any question, please feel free to post your questions, your queries, your suggestions, whatever topics you want us to cover on our Facebook page. We are here every Wednesday trying to help out and empower the youth with this youth empowerment initiative called UnBox. Thank you so much.
And help
Have
us
a
to help
nice
you.
day. Help us to
Basically,
help you.
parents, yeah, basically, parents help us to be able to help you. So tell us about topics that you'd like to hear from us, where you think we can add value, and be patient with your child. We want the child to be as successful as you are and as successful as you would like them to be. So we are here with you along the way. Please continue to be supportive of your child all through their life. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Purvaja. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, everybody. And now we'll be closing in the next 10 seconds. I love these discussions, and we are going to have this every Wednesday. Thank you, and have a great day, and good night.